I don't want to stay where someone thinks or where I think I'm supposed to be for other people. And so for me, it's like I want people to see the real me. I want people to get a sense of my truth, my playfulness, my excitement, my power, my energy, and feel proud of showing up as who I really am. Because I think that if I present myself in any way that's even watered down or that's showing up for another person, it's not really going to let them receive what they're meant to receive. I think we're all medicine for each other. I think that's why a lot of relationships fail as well, and a lot of friendships fail because we tend to, as like humans, want to be accepted, and we put that acceptance above a lot. And when we prioritize acceptance over being ourself, it usually leads to some issues down the road.
Today's guest is Allison Vaeth, an empowerment coach who helps people come home to their truest self. At the start of 2024, Ali ended the relationship she thought would become marriage. She left the home she shared, the business felt like it was missing something, and the safe version of her life needed to shift all at once. In her 30s, at the age people are told to anchor down, she did the opposite. She put everything in storage and left the country with a friend. She followed one gut feeling after another. London on the 15th of July, then Scotland, Portugal, Spain, then a pull back to Costa Rica she couldn't explain, to the same small town she had already visited because something told her that was where she was meant to be. Today, we're talking about surrender. Not the giving up kind of surrender, the kind where you let an ending be an ending so the next dream can begin. We get into the resistance that comes with being fully seen, the distance between the head and the heart, and what it costs to say the true thing out loud. If you're standing at the edge of a leap right now and you haven't taken a step yet, this one is for you. Welcome to the Memoirs of Millions podcast. You might be standing with your bags packed, staring at the life you haven't started yet. You can see it from here. You haven't walked out the door. Or maybe you're waiting for the right moment. The right moment doesn't show up on its own. Or maybe you already walked out. You left what didn't fit anymore. You built something new, and now people start to ask about it. You told someone the truth about why you left, and they nodded. Either way, you're standing at the door right now. Behind you is what's ending, ahead of you is what's waiting. A new life sits on the other side of it. The only question is whether you walk through or turn around and unpack the bags. Stay with us for this conversation between Ali and me on the Memoirs of Millions podcast. So, Ali, welcome. We're doing this again. How you doing, lady?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Yes. The theme of our conversation today is going to be around surrender.
Mm.
And I think I wrote down a little definition for myself about surrender, and it's pretty much was surrender is letting an ending be an ending, releasing the life that no longer fits so the next dream can start without falling asleep on the wind.
Mm.
When you hear that kind of opening, what's your definition of surrender when you think about that word?
Yes. Well, I love the word surrender. It's been a leading topic in my life for quite a while now. And the part that stood out to me is like where the beginning and the ending meet. Surrender feels like sometimes where resistance will meet an edge and you find freedom or you find liberation in something. Surrender to me also is an acceptance of what is and not putting your expectations, your desires, your needs onto whether it's yourself or another person and actually looking at what's in front of you. And I found that when you live in a sense of surrender and you allow while also hmm, being open to the experiences of things shifting and becoming what they're meant to be, life becomes a lot more creative, a lot more exciting. You kind of never know where it's going to go because you've let go of the control that you normally hold on to. And so surrender is a doorway, it's a pathway into a beautiful unknown.
Surrender it is. I
Hmm.
love thinking deeply about surrender. And oftentimes, I think we think about the white flag, right? Like I gotta bend the knee. Like I'm waving the white flag. I'm bending the knee when I think about surrender. But when I also think about surrender, I think about it as it's like the between the past and the future, right?
Mm,
Something that needs to be let go of. So I'm surrender it to history, and then I'm gonna
mhm,
surrender to the future that's pulling me forward. But sometimes, we want to hold on to that thing, and I want to let it go. And it's like, let me release me, let me go. Or the person's like our time is up, time for you to go. But it's very hard
mm,
to let that go. Have you been in a situation where you felt like surrendering up something that you thought was supposed to be, but it wasn't, and it was
mhm.
very hard for you to let go of?
Definitely. I can list off a lot of situations where I fell into that. I think one of the ones that caused the most pain for me was not surrendering to the ending of one of my past relationships. It seems that when you have so much emotional connection to someone, and what I've noticed within myself and within clients is we create such an amazing storyline of what we desire this future outcome to be. We get even down to the detail of how that wedding will go or the future house or how the kids might look, to where you create such a reality, a future reality that truly doesn't exist yet, that when there's any signs of struggle or breaking of that being presented to you, you choose not to see it, or you choose to ignore it and look for what's positive. So there's a lot of times where when you're not surrendering, you're not really truly looking at maybe those red flags or yellow flags that are waving in front of you, and because you're so focused on what it is that you've created in your own mental reality. And so I think relationships for me have been a really big window and mirror into what it looks like to surrender and not to surrender, and also where so many people lose themselves.
Mm. Okay, so I'm reminded of this quote. I think I shared it before. It
Mhm.
said the mind can live in fantasy, but the body lives in reality. And
Mhm.
sometimes we don't want to surrender to reality because reality sometimes is not the greatest on us. So we kind of project into fantasy.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah. Uh, I feel like that's a very common struggle that a lot of us are currently inside of, where we aren't happy with our current reality, so we create mental constructs of what that could be. And so we tend to find more comfort in those creations. And we see it a lot with some of the, maybe more polarizing topics of when is like, watching TV too much, playing video games too much, watching porn too frequently, things that take you outside of your own current reality and put you in the fantasy of somebody else. We say, I mean, there's a reason why reality TV got so popular, because we're able to dream and fascinate on things that aren't really true. And it allows us to create a life where we don't have to look at what's happening within.
I'm glad you're enjoying the podcast. Before we continue, I have a gift for you. Since 2016, I have read and listened to over 900 books so far. It's gonna be 1,000, and I organized them into a library and I handpicked the top 100 books I recommend to my clients, my friends, and the people in my community. Books on storytelling, language, and personal growth, and building something from your own life. If you're watching this podcast and you're looking for your next great read, this library is your gift. It is free. Go to asheralbertwright.com and check out the 1000 book challenge. This is my gift to you. Now back to the conversation. We are not gonna fight the universe. If the universe wanna play games, let it play games.
Mhm. We're gonna go with
I'm
it.
Yeah, I'm a jump into the maxims. I'm gonna jump into the
Okay.
maxims. I'm gonna see I'm see what pops in your head when you hear these maxims, and we can
Perfect.
talk about them. And I'm gonna start with the one that says the end is the last stop of one journey and the start of a new dream. On the flip
Mhm.
side, Celebrate the ending too long, and the new dream leaves while you sleep. What story pops in mind for you when you hear those words?
Mhm. It reminds me of the what felt like the end of an old chapter of my life as I've walked into the beginning of a new one. Towards the end of
Mm-hmm.
2023, I ended a long-term relationship and I had endless opportunities in front of me. I think I mentioned before that I wanted to travel the world. I wanted to rent a camper van. I wanted to go live in a different part of the United States. I mean, there were just like all these really cool life callings that I've always desired to do while I was in a partnership and never really got the opportunity to. So when that happened, I knew that I had to leave everything behind to it felt like go on like this pilgrimage, this soul search of who I really was and what I really desired. And the ending of that time of my life was the beginning of this new chapter of becoming a digital nomad, exploring the world in new ways, living abroad, starting different like relationship style dynamics, growing my career. uh, it was really the beginning of an expansive time of my life.
Mm. You know, being because I grew up in Jamaica, so I had to leave
Mhm.
Jamaica. I came to the United States. I joined the military. Then I was stationed overseas a lot, but
Mm,
I loved all of it. I just loved being away. And there was one thing that I kind of enjoyed when I was overseas too, is that we always like joke around like the Americans stick together when they overseas. In America, they probably like, but then when you go overseas, like these are the only people I know. Then you kind of like you find yourself just kind of coming closer to each other. I remember when I was in South Korea, I used to go out partying all the time. So when you go out and you see like Americans, like, all right, now I see people. Then you just hang out with them and do your little partying. But we stick together overseas.
mhm. Oh,
So I
it's
think there's
definitely
a
like
beauty
that.
about coming together when you're in a foreign countries. So how's your experience been in the foreign countries that you've been in?
It's been pretty incredible. So right now, I currently live in Costa Rica in a town called Nosara, and I absolutely love living there. It's more of an expat community. It's a small town. Like in off season, there's like 5 or 6,000, and full season, there's a couple thousand more. And it's like you said, mainly Americans or Europeans. So English speaking countries love to visit because it's very accessible. And I've found the locals are so loving, so sweet, very open with how they love to live their life. And it's technically a blue zone, which is also really exciting because people just live a really long time there and they really embody happiness and love within their hearts and how they present in their day to day activities. I've also noticed traveling through Central and South America, there's just a lot of life. I spent quite a bit of time in some European countries as well, which most of them are Spanish speaking or like Portuguese, and it's a similar energy. It's more of a celebratory energy. You live life at your own pace, and I've noticed that because people are happier, you get treated more lovingly, and people love to talk. It's like you recognize when I'm back in America how short conversations can be or just the lack of conversation. And when you go abroad, it
Mm.
seems like people really want to get to know you. And not all countries. Some are definitely a bit more conserved or reserved with their conversation, but I've noticed there's a lot more exploration and wanting to truly get to know each other.
I'm gonna stick here a little bit, and I'm curious. I'm curious. You say you've been to a Spanish speaking country. Do you speak Spanish?
I've been taking lessons for over a year and I still am not good at it. But yeah, I can a little.
Kind of little. No. It's interesting because I remember when I first like when I went to Germany, when I was stationed in Germany, I started off like trying to learn German because it was like, okay, well, if you're gonna be here, then try to learn the language. But then I discovered a lot of the German friends that I make, they all speak English. So then I was like,
Mhm.
well, I don't need to learn German because my friends they do speak English. So it's interesting. Do you run into a lot of Spanish speakers that speak English where you visited?
Yeah, you don't have to speak
Huh?
Spanish to live there, and Costa Rica is very
Ah.
bilingual. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
I mean, it's sounded interesting. Like they're like, well, you know what, we're gonna kind of gear toward this population of people. You see English, come to Costa Rica. We got place for you right here. So, mm.
Mhm. Oh, yeah, they're definitely calling
Okay.
Americans to Costa Rica.
All right, so
Mhm,
I got another maxim. So here's the other
mhm.
one. So says say the true thing out loud more than you keep it safe in your head. On the flip side, hold the truth in too long and you forget the sound of your own voice. What story pops in your head when you hear those words?
A current truth that I am looking to expand upon, more so in a outward way, I've explored it deeply within myself, is just my path and my journey towards being a priestess, being a tantrika, really stepping into sensual and sexual empowerment, being a coach in those areas, even though they're a little taboo and a little spicy for a lot of people
Mhm.
to talk about. And it's been a really hard journey for me inwards to be seen outwardly in that way, just based off of projections and assumptions that people like to make. And I've become very devoted to living in these traditions and showing up for myself in a way that feels the most spiritually connected. And I really want to share or continue to share my truth because I do. But I am in that pivotal space right now where if I keep this in my head, it feels like I'm going to be like a closeted version of myself. And I want to break out of that closet, break out of the stigma of how I should or shouldn't act or be perceived and really step into my truth and what those truths are. So it's interesting because I want to see past the illusion of the physical world that we create and help people see like what I see, which is a space of so much beauty and love and unconditionality and playfulness and excitement. And I feel like there's like a lot of that lacking and missing in today's society. There's a lot of healing that has to happen for people to get there still as well.
When you was talking, you mentioned the word closet, and
Mhm.
I'm thinking, how do you surrender to the outside of the closet? Not the
Mm,
inside of the closet, but the outside of the closet. How do you find yourself
mhm.
surrendering to what's outside of the closet for you?
I feel that it's just really connecting with the depth of my true humanness. So, all parts of me, the unaccepted or ugly parts, as well as the beautiful parts and the celebrated parts, and being okay with whatever outcome it brings, and also being true to the belief that I hold that as you are more of who you present your like, as you embody more of who you truly are, that is what's going to bring you closer to accomplishing your goals and your purpose in life, and so, as long as I walk that path of becoming more of my true self, I inevitably believe that I'm going to achieve everything I desire.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's try another one. This one says, live the life you want more than the life that keeps other people comfortable.
Mhm.
And the flip side is shrink your life to fit other people and you end up a guest in it. What story pops in your head for that?
Well, I'm going through a really interesting time right now with my social media. And that brings up this idea around shrinking myself to not be too much to fit into the mold of other people and like what makes them comfortable. And I've always been a very open, sensual person. My prior years, I did professional bodybuilding. And, it's like if you go back, it's like all my photos are me, in a bikini or doing a photo shoot in
Mhm.
sexy clothes or whatever it might be, and I've always really embraced the feminine body and celebrated it in just so many unique ways, and so today in this current reality of, who I am and what I'm wanting to build in my business, and I feel like I'm hitting this wall at times of what's too much, and really, I would like to be my full expression and post whatever the heck it is, regardless if it makes other people uncomfortable. So when you say that, it brings me to this truth I'm sitting with right now is if nobody else was watching, if this was like my life for me, lived with 100% vulnerability and authenticity, like what would I be posting? What would I be saying? How would I be showing up? Yeah,
Mhm.
that's what feels alive for me.
The past. I was speaking to somebody else about, like when we transition from the different identities, right? Like you moving into a
Mhm.
new space, and the thing that represents you for a certain period of time, and then you move into the next life. It's like it's we feel guilty about sharing it because, for example, I'm gonna go here with this piece. Sometimes I have conversation with people that are like spiritual, right? And they eulogize like characters in the Bible. And they speak highly of these characters, and these characters have a lot of flaws, just like them right now. A lot of flaws. But they eulogize this character and then speak highly of them in different ways. But then they are ashamed of talking about their own history, their own past. I'm like,
Mm.
wait a minute, it's the same as theirs. But when you're in the middle of your story, then you feel like, oh, can I share this? Can I not share this? But then these characters, you can see their whole life because it's written out. But your life is no different. Yet
Mm-mm.
you put shame and guilt and all these different thing on it when he's like, wait a minute, talk about it. It's part of your history. Because if something happened tomorrow, for example, if somebody go and delete your entire social media right now,
Mhm.
delete all your pictures, how will you feel about that? Will you miss it? If somebody go in and delete all your memories that maybe you don't want to think you share, would you miss it? How would you feel? Will you still feel like you? And that is a challenge.
Mm.
What are your thoughts?
I definitely went through a phase where that challenged me deeply, the sense of identity and like, yeah, who would I be if I didn't have that? And
Mm-hmm.
I would say there was definitely a deep attachment to that for a long time in my life and the perception or the identity that I created, especially for people to see. And then once that dissolved, especially when I had to give up my identity that I wasn't ready to give up, it made me look at the lack that was truly driving the identity in the first place. And so now I would say that I live in a place within myself where I don't feel controlled by it. I feel that if all that was to go away, I would still be able to start from scratch and like know my sense of self and maybe even come in
Mm-hmm.
stronger because there isn't a past. I think there's a beauty in letting the past go so you can focus more on who you currently are. Yeah, it's tough.
I, I, I would say our past is what makes us stronger.
Mhm,
And if you remove the thing that is a part of your ingredients, right? They maybe not, some of them might not be the highest ingredient, but they're part of the ingredients. If you remove those ingredients, would you still feel like you? And that is the challenge. I mean, like, appreciate the thing that got you here, right?
mhm,
However it might be, because it is the thing that's part of your foundation. To get to the next level, if you remove it, you're gonna fall back. So I say appreciate
mhm,
the past. Let's jump
mhm,
into another maxim.
mhm.
This one says, let people meet the real you more than the version you clean up for them. On the flip side, lead with the clean up version and they fall for someone who is not there. What comes to mind for you?
To me, that makes me feel into my life. Like um,
Mm,
I don't wanna stay where someone thinks I'm or where I think I'm supposed to be for other people. And so for me, it's like I want people to see the real me. I want people to get a sense of my truth, my playfulness, my excitement, my power, my energy, and feel proud of showing up as who I really am. Because I think that if I present myself in any way that's even watered down or that's showing up for another person, it's not really going to let them receive what they're meant to receive. I think we're all medicine for each other. And so at the end of the day, if, you as Asher is just showing up as half the version of him, maybe the thing you were meant to say wasn't said, and I wasn't positively or negatively impacted by it in the way I was meant to be. And every interaction we have holds so much power. And so, yeah, I put that to a very like high like a high value of mine is to not be someone or let someone perceive me in a way that's not really true. Like I think that's why a lot of relationships fail as well, and a lot of friendships fail because we tend to, as as humans, want to be accepted, and we put that acceptance above a lot. And when we prioritize acceptance over being ourself, it usually leads to some issues down the road.
Oh man, you're speaking wisdom right now, by the way.
Yeah.
You're speaking wisdom right now because that is so true when it comes to the the nature of us to be want to be in community in a group. But
Mhm.
if you think about it, how many people do you need? Like I'm from a big family. I have five brothers and three sisters, right? So when I think about where do I fit in, how you trying to fit in, I'm like, you only need so many. You only need probably this like five people, probably, right? You probably just
Mhm.
that many people you need in your life. So then, how much do I have to adjust myself for five people versus 50?
Yeah.
Only small adjustment. So then when you're trying to please the crowd, then you feel like you're not you. When you're like, wait a minute, these are my people. They understand me. I'm showing up as me.
Mhm.
And then you can eliminate the people that don't want to be around you because yeah, you're not fit. Then go. But I'm gonna be me today because if today was my last day, would I be proud that I show up for myself?
Definitely. I agree with that a lot.
Hmm. Let's try another one. I like this conversation, by the way. Trust to pull towards the new more than the comfort of the known. Stay where it's safe, and safety slowly become a cage. Ooh, talk to me about the cage.
Mm.
What are you thinking? What comes to mind for you?
Yeah, there's a story from when I wouldn't say just started my spiritual personal development journey, but towards the beginning. And I was doing a tarot pull, and it's the archetype deck, if anyone's familiar with it. And it's a really cool deck. And I pulled the card The Box. And I remember in that moment, there was this awareness shift that up until maybe recently in my life, in that area or that time of my life, that I put myself in a box. I became everything I thought I was meant to become, and I achieved all these really big freaking goals. I was also kind of in the beginning slash a year or two into that identity shift we were talking about. And so I was seeing that, like, man, if everything I created was kind of on like a box of lies, in the sense of like not really coming from abundance and truth, but more so from like need and desire and not feeling good enough, or like wanting to achieve, needing to be successful, needing to appease this person's opinion of me. When I
Mhm.
allowed that to start to dissolve in that moment, when I pulled it, I saw the box around me, and I saw how deeply it affected my entire life, my entire personality. And I remember thinking that I never wanted to go into a box again. And so I thought to myself, what's the best way to prevent putting yourself in a box? And it is following your excitement. Like, what actually drives you? What excites you when you wake up? What's the one thing you want to do the most every single day? And if you were to choose yourself and choose your excitement and choose the wisdom and the intuition that's coming to you over everything else that may have boxed you in originally, like, where would you go and who would you become? And so that's exciting for me because I like, what do I crave? What do I desire more of? And how do I move towards that? So I make sure that it's almost like I'm building my queendom versus boxing myself
Mhm.
into what I feel like it's supposed to be.
If you have to pick which one of these you would align number one, number two, number three. So freedom of time, freedom of purpose, freedom of relationship, freedom of money. Yeah, freedom of time, purpose, relationship, and money. Which one would be you would see at the top of your list right now?
That's so hard because freedom's a top value for me in like everything. um, I think time, because it allows me the space to choose how I want to proceed, whether that is in like relationships or purpose. And finances. I can see how finances would be really interesting. Like I would say that I've never been truly free in finances, meaning like making so much money I've never had to think about money.
Mhm.
Also, I feel like in relationships, if you choose the right relationship for you, it should feel like freedom in a lot of ways. So I think yeah, I think time would be the one I choose.
I
Mm.
noticed you didn't mention purpose. So this is I'm gonna go there now. So since you didn't mention purpose, the other ones you thought about, but purpose, freedom of purpose. What is your purpose right now?
Well, freedom of purpose is very important. I think that with time, purpose reveals itself because you have space
Mm,
to listen. My purpose right now, if I'm gonna get like extremely chunked up to the very, 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 very top, I feel like my purpose is to truly understand unconditional love and
mm,
also to truly help the masculine, whether that's masculine as in men or masculine energy. I feel like I'm really meant to change the dynamics and the shifts towards whether it's a woman who's stuck in perfectionism and overthinking and the hustle culture of like, I don't need anybody type energy,
mm,
or the man who's, you know, lost and sad and stuck in shame and guilt, or he feels like he has no one to talk to or is sexually repressed. Even the woman who
mm,
is dealing with sexual trauma or oppression, bringing people back into healing those parts within themselves to where it's like they realize that it all comes down to unconditional love. And I feel that my path to get there is always shifting and changing. But that's
mhm.
almost a 35-year-old woman. That's the purpose that I've come to so far.
No, this is you taking on a formidable task, which is to at least the masculine piece, because yeah, I forget I was talking to about the oh yeah, I was talking to another supposed to be a podcast guest, but we was talking about the quote I shared with her was that there's a quote that says the longest journey a man has to travel is 18 inches from his head to his heart. So it's like the
Yes.
journey for journey from the head to the heart, or the space where the woman dominates is in the heart space. But if the
Mhm.
world has pushed you into the head, pushed you into the
Mhm.
masculine space, then it's very difficult for you to be in that space. And it's like, well, journey back to the heart, because that's where
Yes.
your energy dominate the most, right?
Mhm.
So when you think about the journey from the head to the heart, what shows up for you?
Well, for other people, I love assisting and facilitating it because I know without a doubt there's unconditional amount of love for every single person to feel and to hold within their heart. It just has to be opened. It has to be felt. It has like you have to believe that it's even possible. And I feel that a lot of us have turned it off, whether like regardless of the situation. And I don't believe many people realize how far away from their heart they really are. And like when you said the furthest journey is 18 inches, it's kind of comical because it's so true. It's like um, you, as a woman who's deeply embodied in understanding these polarities of energies, when I meet a man who is in his heart in any capacity, it's so evident. It's so obvious.
Mm,
And for myself, like my journey to my heart has been a hard, long one. You know, I truly believe, you know, there are people who are sent here with so much love already and gifted like the most amazing family and hold this purity. And then for a lot of us, we're given really hard circumstances to figure it out within. I do believe like resistance and friction creates so much understanding within if you're able to look at the lessons and the learnings and not harp on where the pain is, where you're able to sit and hold the pain and process and let it go to see, okay, why did this happen in the first place? So for me, I was around the same time like the tarot was happening, my identity shift. I did a meditation, hypnosis with my coach at the time. And I remember he brought me down. It was after ending almost a 12-year relationship that I hardened myself and I became the masculine, but a very toxic version. And I remember
Mm.
feeling into my heart and we did some release work and some energy work. And I just, in that moment, like saw my heart crack open in a way I've never felt. And I just remember thinking, like, how outrageous is this? Like, I didn't even know it was possible to like sense and feel myself in such a magical way. And I've grown up religious. I had like the most epic love with my last partner, but it just like nothing really matched the self understanding of your heart being open. And since then, I've experienced so many beautiful moments where it feels like my heart's just cracking open more and more and more to where it's like, even just thinking about it, like I can almost burst into like happy tears of connection because it's just such a beautiful energy. And that journey, it's like when you open your heart, it almost allows like your intuition and your mind to slow down and to soften. And this is why I don't believe that people have to believe in the same spiritual power, but I do believe that believing in a higher power allows for so much more beauty to come into your life. And that's from experiencing it myself. And when you do so, your mind doesn't really run the show anymore. And I don't think it was ever supposed to, right? I think our heart, our womb as a woman, our intuition is what's supposed to drive us, and that's what brings the polarity of the masculine and the feminine, right? Like our heart's open, we're here to receive. Like, are you here to
Mm.
give? And so, yeah, it's been it's been my journey thus far with my heart.
This episode is sponsored by Life Changing Wisdom Marketplace, the home for authors who own their stories and their business. Your book, your merch, your audience. One storefront, you keep 80%, you own your customer list. You build a real relationship with the readers. If that sounds like the way you want to run your business, visit lifechangingwisdom.com. How do you feel about heartbreak? Have you experienced many heartbreaks or not many heartbreaks? What do you experience
Mhm.
with heartbreaks?
I've experienced quite like I mean, a couple, maybe several really intense heartbreaks. And all different times in my life. I would say like a really big heartbreak prior to really stepping into my heart opened, a heartbreak after my heart has been opened, and maybe like a little baby heartbreak in between.
A baby
you know,
heartbreak.
um, yeah, I'm very emotional and very sensitive, but very mature in understanding why I feel that way. So, I think as I've experienced heartbreak with my stepping into myself, it's less projection outwards and like anger and pain, and it's more like, wow, let me really feel this grief and this sadness and where were my attachments? Like, where did I create a reality around something that wasn't there? Where did I hold on too tightly? Or where and I start to reflect like how could I be better in my next partnership or even within myself because I one of my favorite artists I actually just saw play at the Sphere last week and people were like, "Oh, like what do you like about his music?" And it's always that when I listen to it, they're so sad. Like it's like all about heartbreak essentially or like finding love and like being in love. And for me, it's not about projecting that story onto another. I think of myself as the person that I'm thinking of. And that creates so much beauty because it brings me into the depths of all the emotions and like I know in like tantra and other spiritual texts like a lot of people like to talk about the underworld and like the shadow world and like the depths where you have to go and like you could retrieve parts of yourself and emotions and feelings and I feel like heartbreak is a door down into that part of yourself that you don't normally let yourself see and so on the other side of heartbreak I really believe is like massive expansion, and it's
Mm.
beautiful. Mm.
During your heartbreak period, what would you say? What would be can you remember one of the kindest thing people do for you? Somebody did for you when you was in or going through a heartbreak period.
I think there were a couple, my coach at the time, he really held a lot of extra space and even gifted me some sessions to help me process through what I was dealing with. I also left my house so I could be separated for a little bit of time, and I went and stayed with friends for, like, weeks or even, like, a month at a time to just find myself again and find love and community, and so I think just, like, the graciousness of, like, my friends' hearts and their open houses and their love, and I've always felt so divinely loved and protected,
Mm.
especially by people I care about, so my community, stepped up for me a lot during my heartbreaks.
Alrighty, let's try another one. This one says, build the life people dream about more than you dream about it too. On the flip side, dream for years and stay put, and you become the thing you envy.
If you
What do you,
don't
what story
move
popped in your head?
towards yeah, I'm thinking, like, for me, if I don't move towards what I truly desire and what I know my heart's asking me to build more of, I start to feel resentful and bitter. Like, that's when I notice parts of myself come out that are conditional and jealous and frustrated. And so if we don't follow our life's path, then I believe that we're not continuously building our future self that we're meant to walk towards. And as we continue to move further away from where we're supposed to go, especially for men, I think that when you don't have that purpose and you're not giving yourself the space to move towards it, you really lose like that higher function of like what you're here to do and how you're supposed to serve. So as a for women and men, if we don't step into our dream life, if we're not moving towards where we really want to go, all I can really sense from that is going to be resentment and anger and sadness and all the emotions. They're not bad emotions, but they're less desired emotions because we're not truly showing up the way we want to be. And so that's going to activate our wounds. It's going to activate like not being good enough, not feeling worthy, not being chosen, etc. But the flip side of that is like you're not choosing yourself. you know, you don't feel like you're good enough yourself. And I think that that's like the pain and the struggle sometimes of being a person who is in their truth. And maybe you've witnessed this before as well. Like when you're the go getter and you're traveling and you're, joining the army and you're doing all this for yourself and you're building something, especially after your identity change now, like rebuilding yourself up and writing and doing podcasts. It's like, you're choosing that for yourself. Like you're doing all the work to get yourself there and like you're moving towards where you want to go. And if you're not doing that for you, like or I guess where I was going to go with that is like people will get bitter. Like people are going to look at you and probably even project parts of themselves that like frustrate them as you're finding success. And that like I struggle with that as well. Like, and I think that's parts of me that I do want to stay small at times because I don't like when that's projected onto me. But at the same time, it's also beautiful because how cool is it that we get to be like our dream and our purpose gets to activate somebody to the point where they're frustrated at us for not really stepping into themselves. So I got a little confused. For a moment I was like, wait, where was I going with that? But it came back, came
Okay,
back.
but let me ask you this then. So how do you feel about the word jealousy and envy? Like
Mm.
how will you define them for yourself, and how do you feel about them?
I mean, I feel like they're natural and they're normal to have. For myself, the first thing I ask myself, and this has been an honest check-in question I've done for many years now, but it's like, why am I jealous? Like,
Mm.
what within me is being triggered? And I take it off of the other person. So let's just say, like, very simple example I'm sure every woman could relate to. It's like a really beautiful woman walks into the room and she's magnetic, right? And you look at her and you're like, one of two reactions. You're gonna be like, "Wow, she's absolutely gorgeous. Do you see her? Like, look at that, look at her face, her dress, like, look, her energy is so nice." Or it'd be, "Oh my God, look at that girl. Like, I can't believe she's wearing something like that. Oh God, like her hair, like who does she think right? Like you you can go two directions really quickly. And anytime I hear inside of myself the latter, I stop and I really check in like why am I feeling envious of this person? Why am I feeling jealous? What is it about me that I feel isn't good enough that I'm gonna project my shit on onto them for just existing? So I use it as a learning experience, and I think everyone should because it's humbling. You learn a lot about yourself when you check into jealousy and envy, but it's not always a bad thing because like maybe, jealousy is teaching you that you love somebody or it's teaching you that you have deeper healing to do or that maybe you don't like somebody anymore, right? And so jealousy, it's a powerful energy. It's a powerful tool to use, in my opinion.
I agree. I think jealousy is natural for all of us. The other one that I think is very sneaky is envy.
Mhm.
And sometimes when you think about envy, right? So my little spin on envy too is envy. When you feel envy, is maybe you don't want that thing for yourself, but you
Mhm.
don't want the other person to have it either, right? So jealousy is like I want what you have. Envy is like, if I can find a way for you to not to have that thing, I will be happy about it, right? That kind of energy is very poisonous
Oh,
because you're
very.
seeing that person going after something you don't want him to have it. Maybe you don't want to do it for yourself. You want to put in the work to get it, but you don't want them to have it. Bad part of the energy.
Yeah, it's a very negative energy to think about being envious to the point where you're hoping for somebody's demise. And I don't know, I'm a pretty like that karma. I believe in karma deeply. And so karma is not just like if you steal something, it's also like, are you stealing somebody else's energy? Are you stealing their dreams, their passions? And so that energy to me, it's like that's only gonna come back to you in a not so not so nice way.
I mean, going back to your social media posts and stuff, you know, sometimes I look at the thing that happens over time. Like beauty is gonna betray you, and youth is gonna betray you, right? They are gonna go away. You're gonna get old, right?
Mhm.
And then when you build your identity based on certain things, you realize that you know what, I need to really wise up and figure out what is there that I can
Mhm.
anchor into that's gonna last, right? And understand certain things is not gonna last and be okay with it. So then I won't envy somebody that's like, man, you're young and full of energy. I envy you. No. I remember one time I was young and full of energy too, but I like to see that happen for everybody else. But I'm moving forward into my new journey, which is I'm going into the future. There's a saying that says children are the future. But there's a reverse to that. I say elders are the future.
Mm.
And the reason I say elders are the future because they're the only one that have made it there. A baby is still in the past, right? They're 2, 3, 4 years old. An elder is into the future. They have made it further into the future
Mm.
than anybody. So they are the future. So I
Yes.
respect the elders. I respect the elder part of my life where I'm aging, maybe I'm losing my beauty or my handsomeness, what you want to call it, right? But it's diminishing. But I understand that's part of life.
Yes. I love that.
All right, let's try another one. Let's try another. So this one says, let yourself be seen as you are more than you manage how you come across. And the flip
Mm.
side is manage how you come across long enough and the people near you meet a stranger.
I went through a transitional time about 2 years ago where when I started stepping more into this like tantric, sacred sexuality, sex coaching space that I thought I was going to maybe lose friends and or receive a lot of judgment. And I would say there's been distance with certain people. I wouldn't say it was maniacal or specifically curated. I think it just happened naturally with like lifestyle changes. But I went through a time where I was really afraid that if I was my true self, I would lose some of those people. But then I realized pretty shortly after like that is the whole purpose in the first place. If I become a version of myself that someone doesn't want to be, then they're not meant to be in my life because like it says you would be a stranger. Like I don't want someone to meet a stranger version of me, like it'd be not me. The thing is I'm not good at faking. Like I'm the person where I have RBF, like I'm gonna walk in a room, like you're gonna know how I feel. Like I could be very sweet and cordial and hold myself, but I if I don't like your energy, if I don't feel like there's a connection, I will not talk to you. Like, so I think like for me, like being a stranger in my own self to appease or to fit in, like it just doesn't work. And I think for people who are doing that, that's a really lonely life. I
Mhm.
witnessed it a lot with my clients where people have created a persona to either appease their husband, their kids, their best friends, and maybe me and like a friend are the only people who actually get to see their true personality or their real thoughts or their real desires. And it kind of brings you back to that cage. Like, how caged have you put your, like, created, like, what have you put yourself inside of that now people are just meeting a stranger version of you? And generally, when you deal with the deeper core essence of feeling alone or being misunderstood and feeling like no one's there for you and like your partner doesn't care, your friends don't check in on you or don't know who you are, it's generally a not too much of a issue externally. It's not usually their fault. It's generally your own fault because you're not really being your true self to be seen. Like, I notice there's a lot of unspoken, and I used to do this in partnerships as well, where it's like you almost like assume someone should be able to read you and know your desires and your needs and be this perfect version for you, but you're not really showing them who you really are, what you need. You're not speaking it, you're not embodying it.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's if you prevent yourself from being your true self for too long, people will never you will become a stranger to not just them, but yourself. It's a pretty tough spot to be.
And to wrap up on that, too, sometimes I witness this as I'm growing my own self in the journey through life. And, you talk about growth, right? When you start growing, there are people that are saying that, hey, I want to go the distance with you. But then you start growing and get to a certain point. They're like, I don't want to go
Mhm,
any further with you. But then you get blamed for leaving them behind, but you haven't left them behind. They
mhm,
decide not to go any further with you because where you're going, they didn't want to put the work in to get there. So then
mhm.
automatically you have to elevate from that circle. Therefore, your circle shrink. I mean, you got to find new people to go on the next journey with you. But sometimes we feel guilty about it. And after
Mhm.
I've conditioned myself, no, 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 no. We said we was going east and we are going 20 miles in, you want to quit. Like, you decide not to come any further. I didn't abandon you. You
Yep.
decide not to come any further because you could come,
Yes.
but you don't want to put in the work, right? Yeah.
Mhm.
Wrap up question for you.
Yes.
First question: a TV show or film you have keep coming back to lately? You got to share that one.
Well, it's changed since we chatted, but I mean, I keep go. I like one I really like want people to watch, and I like to go back to is The Chosen, which is like a beautiful movie based or TV show based on Jesus and his journey to becoming him, which I just
Mhm.
find really beautiful. It's like a little clip. It's very wholesome and sweet, and like, I cry a lot during it. But actually, one show that I started binging the last 2 weeks back in America is the Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. It's been like the most trashy reality show I've watched in a really long time, but it's been really interesting because at the end of the day, I'm excited because it's like a group of women, regardless of how they're actually acting. I'm not a fan of some of those smaller interactions, but the overall picture is them embodying their femininity and breaking the patriarchy and all the rules that have been put on them for so long. So, like, they're the breadwinners of the family. They wear clothes that they're not supposed to wear. They sometimes go and have a cocktail. They go on trips to Vegas. It's like, they're breaking the norms. And I really enjoy when people like break the norms and like become the black sheep and how much power like I mean they've gotten so much criticism and hate and they're just like going for it. So I'm like one part of me is like, wow, this is really trashy TV, and the other part's like, this is really cool. Let's go.
I think secretively you are in a protest mode right now with a lot of things.
For sure. Yes.
Yeah.
Like speaks to my heart.
Okay, three books. Three books you would hand to a friend right now.
A Course in Miracles. I absolutely love that book. It's very sweet teaching. Breaking the habit of being yourself, because I feel that for a lot of people, they need like a scientific backing of why meditation is possible and how it really helps reprogram your subconscious mind. So I always want people to educate themselves in that. And then one book that I've
Mhm.
found a lot of beauty in, especially as a feminine coach, is called the Sophia Codes, and it's about the like Yeshua. transmissions, but through the feminine embodiment. So, like powerful female leaders like Mother Mary and Mary Magdalene, Green Tara, and like it's cool. So that's a very like niche book. So unless you're being called to read it, I definitely wouldn't.
Interesting. Okay,
Mhm.
a product or tool you have been using that has been a game changer.
I would say it's the deeper subconscious reprogramming work, so like parts integration work. I really believe in that deeply and how life-changing it could be when you go into yourself in a more complex way. So, yeah, I'd say like internal family systems like parts integration and somatic reprogramming work like breath work and yeah, things like that.
Hmm. A community you have been getting real value from.
I'd say my community in Nosara, where I live, the people are so beautiful and magical. They hold a lot of space. Like we all hold space for each other to be our true selves. And I've never experienced a community that's so close and also just so true and so loving. So that one's been impacting me really positively.
And last question, your Mount Rushmore, the 3 to 5 people who have shaped your life the most, they cannot be your family member.
Well, during a lot of these stories that I explained to you during my identity shift, I was working with my mentor at the time, and he changed my life deeply. Even working with him, a lot of my best friends came from his coaching community that I'm still like deeply, deeply close to now. So it changed my life in many ways. I would say my long-term partner, we dated for almost 12 years, and even though we decided to end our relationship, like, we grew together, and so, yeah, I mean, inevitably, we shaped each other's lives deeply. Another person who's deeply shifting my life is my mentor, from the last few years, and she is a very powerful coach. She holds, like, feminine energy and wisdom that I, like, have never experienced before from another person, and so I've really gained a lot of knowledge and wisdom from being around her and working with her.
Ali, this was fun. This was great
Mm.
chat.
Yeah, so
What
good.
you say? Yeah, what would you say your biggest takeaway from this conversation?
It's so fun to share, like, myself and my truth out loud, as well as I feel more encouraged and excited to feel empowered in showing up more of myself in whatever way that is, whether it's in person or online or, what like, etcetera, because a lot of the questions really brought me back to that internal truth of just, like, being in your purpose, and so yeah, I'm excited to sit down tonight and to journal and to think more about how I can continue to stay on that path, and it's very cool.
Hmm? Well, again, thank you for the generous use of your time, and
Mm.
make it an utterly fantastic day.
Thank you. I appreciate this so much.